Welcome back, everybody. So, today I'm going to be talking about the games that I've been addicted to. Games that from the time I was a teenager up until maybe 4 years ago, there have just been too many months, years even, when I haven't been able to put these games down. And the amount of hours that I've accumulated in them in relatively short time frames, honestly, they can be pretty sickening. I know people out there, they've got more hours in certain games. You know, this isn't a contest to show you guys that I've got the most hours in certain games. This, once again, is just going to be a little bit of storytelling so that you can know what games that I've been playing as I've been growing up. And maybe that gives you guys a little bit of perspective, a little bit of context when I interview people, where I'm coming from as far as my gaming background's concerned. Now, speaking of addictions and obsessions, Elden Ring is the game that's had my attention lately. I've been binging it at night after work. It doesn't matter when it is. I've just been going hard in the game. Even though I've only got 20 hours right now, I'm doing the best I can with limited time. But that explains why this morning, as I'm filming this, I don't exactly look as fresh as I should be. It was a few too many hours of Elden Ring last night. So, this thing about gaming addictions or games that you've been addicted to in the past, one is sounds a little more extreme than the other. So let's just say games that I've been addicted to. Okay? It's not a problem that's unique to me, obviously. Everybody suffers from too many things to do, not even just gaming, and not enough time. And there's a lesser problem that's related to that, which is also having too many games being played concurrently or just too many games on your plate in general. I might cover the former, too many games being played concurrently, as a video idea if I want to be talking about the games that I'm currently playing. I know other channels do that a little bit better than me. Because of my free time, or lack thereof, I should say, I'm not able to play as many games as I would like to. So it takes me many, many weeks, if not months, to get through simple games. But I'm trying, right? And we'll see what I want to do with that idea in the future. All right, Leo just ran under the bed, but maybe he'll be back in the background to join us later in the video. These stories start off with me as a teenager, when a friend introduced me to a game that I tried looking up the name of. I couldn't find the title of it, but I remember playing this character named Olaf the most. It was this really wonky 2D, but on a bit of an isometric view action game. And I remember small platforms like an arena, and basically the goal was take out members of the enemy team. You had melee attacks and you had special attacks, and I would often pick this character Olaf because he had the most melee damage. Some Korean game, I'm not sure what. After that one, after I got my taste with playing things online and playing against other players, and also playing with players, because we had a few kids from school playing this one. Then we moved on to Gunbound and Maple Story, and Maple Story is the first game that I'm going to talk about. Maple Story, I feel like if you were a teenager or if this was your first MMO, then this is probably a game that you really loved and you have fond memories of it. For one thing, the music was incredible. Playing that game, every town, every route, the music just stuck with you. And every time you logged in, you were looking forward to hearing those familiar tunes again. Another thing about Maple Story is the art style. It was so appealing for somebody younger. It just looked really clean, kind of like this arcade style, obviously done by a Korean group, and they kind of put their own twist on it that made it look a little bit different to us in the West. I loved it. That game, it drained a lot of hours, and it was the start of me developing a lot of bad habits. But again, this is limited to MMOs and online games and multiplayer games. Single player games that I've been obsessed with or addicted to, I'll leave those for another time. Maybe I'll cover them in a different series, different format. So Maple Story. So by the time I'm playing this game, I have my own computer in my room, and I love it. I've got all the freedom in the world. All I need to do is just not be in school. This isn't a story about skipping school. I wasn't doing that yet. I'll do that later on with another game. Jeez. At this point, though, it's just a lot of playing it after school. The hours keep on bleeding into the night when it's time to start getting ready for bed, and I'm still online. And the thing is, the more we played, the more people got into it, or we discovered other kids at school who were already playing, and they had accounts that were even higher level than us. It became a nice little network where you could just continue talking with your friends after school. But also, I mean, come on, it's a game, so it's more fun than anything you could do at school. Probably. So anybody who's played MapleStory and got to a decent level, I mean, not even a high level, I think it was around level 28, maybe even lower than that, you're familiar with what party quests are. And if you know party quests, then you know Kerning City. Kerning City, for those who didn't play, it was this dingy, rough, kind of, beaten down, really like back streets of New York kind of looking city. The town was decorated with sewers and dirt and litter and stuff all over the place. And the party quest in this city, the instance, if you're familiar with other MMOs, basically the way to group up and do a miniature raid or a dungeon, right? The dungeon in this city was always packed with people waiting to get in. In MapleStory, there's one NPC who you have to talk to. And by clicking on them at the right time, when there's a window to get in, they will let you in. But if another party's already in there, well, you have to wait. And a lot of people play with AutoClicker. A friend of ours had an AutoClicker downloaded. I didn't want to do anything like that for fear that I might get banned or something. So I was there mashing away on my mouse as hard as I could trying to get in. And that was great. It worked sometimes, not all the time. When was it easier to get in? When were there less players online? At night. So that was one of the reasons for staying up at night very often, as we wanted to do these party quests and get the good loot, the good drops, whatever it was. We were obsessed with it. But I was more obsessed than the rest of my friends, at least that I know of. I wanted to play more than them, and I made time to play more than them. Because my character started getting a little bit over-leveled, I would make new characters, different classes and things like that, and I'd be playing on my own time. The worst instance of ever playing this game too late was one night when I'm playing one of these little alternate characters, something that my friends don't even know about, I don't think, because I had so many of them. I was almost ashamed to say that I was playing so much and getting all these characters up to decent levels, which back then wasn't even a good level, but the game was such a grind fest. It took forever. Anyway, so I'm playing it. I don't even realize that night starts turning to dawn. At some point, the sun started coming up, and I think it was around 5 a.m. My door swings open. My mother's furious. She's wondering, what am I doing on the computer so late? And my brain is just scrambling, trying to come up with an excuse. At least I didn't get caught with something worse on my screen. But still, what am I doing playing a game when I should be asleep and there's school the next morning and all that stuff? And I say, I just woke up early. I just got on. And she goes, turn it off. Get to bed. And so I do what she said. I, turned off the monitor. I scrambled into bed, and I basically just hid there for a little bit. My adrenaline was up, so I wasn't going to sleep. And I was in the middle of something, so I had to get back on the computer. So probably after waiting 10 minutes or whatever, I get back on. But that taught me a really valuable lesson in how to stay up late without getting caught. Now, I'm pretty sure she knew that I was playing, not because of the sound, because I would always turn my sound down when it got late at night so that I would be the only person who could hear it. I think she saw a glow of my monitor going under my door at night. And so what would I do? From then on, if I ever wanted to stay up, I would line the cracks under my door with blankets or towels or whatever it was, just so the light could not traverse through there. And that was the start of some really bad habits and starting to learn how to do things so that I could get away with playing late into the night. And everybody always did this as a kid. If you had a Game Boy, you would play under your covers, right? Especially if you had like the little attachment light that actually made it possible. Everyone did that, but this is focused on online games, like I said. So the next one. Now we're into high school. Junior high's done. It's behind us. I've gone from maybe 14 years old to 17 years old here. Not really sure how old I am at this point. But we're playing Call of Duty 4. I'd already been obsessed with Halo, and I loved Halo. Halo 3 was a game that, again, after school, a lot of guys would come online, Xbox Live, we're all playing together and having a blast. Usually people could only play for about an hour or 2 hours, and I would find ways to play more Halo than them. If it was maybe skipping a little bit of math homework or something like that, not a good thing to do, but that's what I did. I just loved Halo more than math, etc. But Call of Duty 4 started to take things to a new level. I got so into that game probably because it was easier to play it individually. Halo really was more fun with other people, and I think I do prefer Halo 3 over Call of Duty 4. But Call of Duty 4, I excelled at that game playing on my own. You know, not even doing the solo death matches where you just, it's a free for all. That's the word I'm looking for. Not even playing a free for all, but just queuing on my own, getting into a random team death match, and just lighting up the scoreboards. That game, I think, is the game that I was best at. In my entire history of gaming, that Call of Duty 4 multiplayer, that was my niche. So, I still have the computer in my room, but now I've also got a little miniature CRT. This TV was one of the main TVs in our house, but just as technology was improving, it was such a big thing, taking up a lot of counter space downstairs in the kitchen, that I took it, and it got replaced by a thinner, smaller TV, which by today's standards is still massive. But I get this CRT, and I don't know, my computer monitors are bigger than this thing. Wider anyway. But I hooked it up in my room and I had my GameCube plugged in for a time. But when it was time to play Call of Duty and I was getting obsessed with the game and I couldn't put it down, I brought my Xbox into my room. I plugged it in that little garbage CRT and I took the drawbacks. I took that smaller screen and the CRT and I just loved it anyway. You know what? I didn't need the big screen anymore if I could keep on playing into the night. And now I was experienced. I was good at staying up and hiding my obsessions. So I could just, you know, cover the cracks of the door again. I could keep on playing later at night. I think I had a pair of earbuds that I was able to plug into the front of the CRT. And as long as I was sitting maybe like a meter or a meter and a half away, I could keep on playing with the sound only coming to me. It was crazy. And there's a lot of good times, my friends and I staying up. Some usually on weekends though, when they would be able to get to stay up with me. And we're playing just stupid games, doing stupid things, finding out how to break the game with grenades and get these different ragdoll effects. And I remember one night really fondly where a couple of buddies and I were doing exactly that. And one of our models gets stuck on a ladder in the ragdoll form. And you know what? We're just sleep deprived, so we think it's the funniest thing ever how this limp body is hanging off the ladder as if it's a flagpole, and the body's practically blowing in the wind. And, you know, it's one of those moments where because my friend is laughing hysterically, I keep on laughing at his laughter, and it just keeps ramping up from there. Call of Duty. Hard to remember a lot of specific moments, but that was definitely a game where I lost a lot of time to it. And I remember, actually, I borrowed the game from a friend the first time I played it. He let me have it over Christmas break because he had been playing it so much prior. And after Christmas breaks, 2 weeks of Christmas break, I'm pretty sure I put in like 7 days worth of playtime. That's 7 times 24 hours worth of playtime in one Christmas break. And that was off of a loaned copy of the game. When I got the game for myself, it got a lot worse. So now we're coming to the third and final game that I want to talk about, Dota 2. This is probably going to be the shortest portion of this video because even though it's the game that I spent the most amount of time with, it's the one that I have the least clear, distinct memories of. 8 years with Dota 2, and there are so few memories that just come to mind right away as I'm filming this. Maybe because I spent so much time with Dota 2, it could be a video for the future too, but we'll see. How I got into Dota 2, in first year university, I was playing League of Legends in the beta. I met a bunch of friends there. You're going to see some interviews on the channel, and a lot of those interviews are with people who I grew up playing League of Legends with. I say grew up. I don't think I played it for more than a year, though. And after a year of League, I moved on to WoW. I played a summer of WoW with my brother and his friends, and that was a lot of fun. But when I was looking for something new, because the WoW subscription was something I just didn't want to pay, I didn't like subscription models, even back then. I got into Dota thanks to one of the former League players giving me a beta key. So I was part of that party, and we were always doing 5 stacks. 5 stack, I'm sure a lot of people know what this means at this point, but in games where you have a party of 5, or really any party, I think the term is used for different games now. But let's just say whatever number of party slots you have, a stack is your group. So there are 5 players on a team for Dota. and we were a 5-stack if we were able to get 5 players to play with us. So we're going, and I'm learning the game, and it's a lot of fun. I, at first, was pretty intimidated by the roster. I didn't know how I was going to learn, 70-something heroes at the time. I can't remember, in 2012, I think it was, because I started playing before the first International. If those dates don't line up, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. But I got into the game early. It was my first time playing Dota. I had played League. I loved it. I was hooked. And I got through that roster so quickly. And after I played through the roster once, I played through the roster a second time. So already now we're looking at about 150 games. And that's 30 to 60 minutes per game. So we've got a lot of time in Dota already. And I was just scratching the surface. With a game like that, every 80 hours, 100 hours, that is when you make a significant rise in your skill. Otherwise, it's too big and too complex of a game to be able to get better at it in small increments. So you got to play a lot. You have to think about the game, and that's how you get good. And I got good, but it took a long time. 4 years into playing it, now I'm towards the end of university, and I'm toying with the idea of maybe going pro. I'd been obsessed with esports, competitive gaming, whatever you want to call it, going back to the days of Halo, hosted by MLG, and I followed Brood War, then StarCraft 2, and then Dota was the game that I really sunk my teeth into. It was bad, though. For me playing, I had delusions of grandeur, thinking that, if I just try a little bit harder, put in more time, I can go pro. But I don't want to drop out of school. I don't want to quit my job. I didn't want to make any sacrifices in my personal life. So I was always, realistically, I was this middling good player. If anyone's familiar with ratings at the time, in 2014, that was when I hit 5K. But a pro player, Arteezy, who was always lighting the leaderboards up and always pushing the boundaries of what was capable in the game, he had just hit 6K. So for pro players, there was still way too far to go. And the other thing, here's about me being delusional. Me hitting 5K, I didn't realize that was just the peak of what I was capable of. It wasn't my average performance. My average performance would have been some rating below that. Just on the best of days, I could play up to that level. I put in too much time into this game. If there was a stupid lecture, I say stupid lecture, and I know a lot of people hearing that might think, I'm putting down school when I shouldn't be. But I just thought of a very specific class, which for anybody would have been a waste of time. I skipped those kind of classes. I didn't skip the classes I liked, of which there were a lot of. But I skipped enough classes for it to impact some of my grades. And I'd be watching Dota. If I wasn't watching Dota, I would try to play Dota. If I couldn't play Dota with my friends, then I would make my own accounts. Again, like the MapleStory thing, I'd make new accounts and I'd play more on my own. Across all my accounts, I probably have something like 4,000 hours. And when you add in time watching people play the game, I don't know, 4,300 hours? I'm not sure. That's the game that until this day is number one. It's never going to be surpassed as far as hours played go, and I don't want it to be surpassed. I don't even want to hit half of that. So, enough about Dota. If I want to keep on talking about it, I'll do so in the future with another video. For now, I want to leave you guys with a little bit of food for thought, and also an idea for what I'm going to be filming next, kind of like a part 2 to this video. Talking about the games that we've been addicted to and obsessed with, and Dota especially, that play timer that keeps on going up and up and up, and I see it's nearing 4,000 hours. What do we do with our backlogs, and what do we do when we're procrastinating about playing a game that we've wanted to play? It could be a single player game that's been installed, but we just keep on jumping back into Counter-Strike or League of Legends or whatever it is, and we're not playing the games that we think we want to play. I'm going to be talking about that stuff and elaborating on it in my next video. Thank you for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys soon. Now that he's woken up, I can actually have him in the video. I just wanted to add on here, guys, if there's games that you've been obsessed with, how many hours you've put into them, leave all of that in the comments because I want to read it. I want to see what other people got hooked on when they were growing up, or what are you hooked on now? And if it's a single player game, that's fine. You could put it in. I know people have put in, 1,000 hours into games like Terraria. So just let me know. And thanks again for watching.